In this video, I'm going to compare Willow Generation 3 and also Imani I2 hands-free pump. Stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Imani, and in this channel, we talk all things related to motherhood, from breastfeedings and also other product reviews. If this sounds like the content that you might enjoy, please consider subscribing. Today, I'm going to review two hands-free pump. The first one is Willow Generation 3 and the second one is Imani I2 hands-free pump. Okay, let's jump to the first one, which is the price. Imani I2 hands-free is significantly cheaper than Willow Generation 3. Imani I2 hands-free, which I'm going to call Imani from now on, actually costs about 600 to 700 ringgit, and Willow Generation 3 costs $500, and that is actually excluding certain additional items. So about $500, if you take 4 ringgit per dollar, that's about 2,000 ringgit. So Willow is about 3 times more expensive than Imani I2 hands-free pump. Is the price worth it? Let's find out. Let's talk about weight. Imani I2 hands-free, the pump actually weighs about 160 gram, and Willow Generation 3, the pump itself actually weighs 300 gram. So that's almost twice as heavy as Imani I2. Now, bear in mind, these two are both hands-free pump. So this will be tucked in your nursing bra or your pumping bra. So in my experience, for Willow, you actually need a special bra. If you go to the support group for Willow, they have a lot of suggestions on what's actually good bra for Willow. And in Willow website themselves, they actually say one of the most important thing about Willow is actually getting the bra right. Because of its weight, you want it to be really tugged and also firm so that it doesn't move around. I'm going to talk about the suction later, which will explain why you need a good bra. So if you want to invest in Willow, you have to be willing to invest in a good pumping bra as well. For Imani, because it's not too heavy, you can actually use your nursing bra and clip it on. If you're just using your normal nursing bra with Imani, you might actually stretch it out. So what I normally do is I use my Bravado clip-on bra. I'm going to put the link down below on where you can get it. Before I go any further, let me explain a bit about Willow. With Willow Generation 3, if you're familiar with this, their specialty is that it doesn't have any leaks. Or basically it's telling you it's 100% leak proof. The reason for that is that Willow actually comes in two breast shields. The first one is a container. So a container is like your normal pump where you pump into a container and you would dump it into a storage bottle after you pump. A Willow also come with their first option. This actually came in with the box when you buy it. They actually comes in with their breast shield, which will be attached to a storage plastic. So what happens is that when you pump, it goes directly into this plastic bag. This is actually what comes in the box when you buy it. Because it goes directly into this bag, there's no way for it to actually spill, and that's why they call it 100% spill proof. This is the case for most of the time. If you have any spill, it's probably because either you're not putting it on correctly, the plastic, the storage bag, or you have a faulty storage bag. I do join the Willow support group, so I know it does happen. So it's leak proof as long as everything is working correctly. As for the normal containers, these will have to be purchased separately. I'm going to link down the Willow website below so you can check out the prices. If I'm not mistaken, it's about $75. So on top of the pump that you will have to pay, you will have to actually pay for these containers if you don't want to use the bags all the time. And of course, the downside of the bag is the price. Okay, let's talk about the comparison for the sizes for these containers. For Imani, the containers can actually hold up to 8 ounces of milk. I've actually forced it to go to 9 ounces one time. It leaked after that, so I would not suggest you go anything above 8 ounces. And for Willow, the maximum it can hold is actually 6 ounces. A particularity about Willow: as soon as you reach 4.3 ounces or about 4.4 ounces, the pump will actually stop. It will stop and pause, and it will ask you to actually empty out your containers. So what you will have to do is you have to stop pumping. Well, the pump will have paused it automatically. You have to detach your nursing bra. You have to unlatch and also take out the container, dump it into a storage bottle or storage bag, and then you can only continue pumping. Now, this is actually my least favorite thing about this pump, because I'm exclusively pumping at the time being, so I don't actually empty out as often as I should. I only pump about 3 times a day now, and I do my first pump in the morning when my last pump is about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So my first pump, I normally would have quite a lot to empty, and it's too much of a hassle for me to actually stop pumping, unlatch, take out the container, empty it out, put it back, and then continue. So I actually stopped using my Willow pump because I just could not handle doing that first thing in the morning. And before, when I was pumping at midnight, it was even worse. You don't want to wake up at 3 in the morning and having to empty out your storage container. This is of course not a problem if you pump more regularly. That means every time you empty out, it doesn't fill it up. Or if you're an oversupplier, then this might not be the best option for you, unless you don't mind stopping in the middle and actually empty out your containers and continue pumping. Let's talk about the option to pump on the go. Because Willow pumps directly into the storage bag, what you can do is actually put the plastic bag before you leave the house, and when you need to pump outside, what you'll do is just put it in your bra and hit on, and then you can move on with your day. I've actually done that a few times. One time I was hanging out with my friends, so I just discreetly put this in my bra in the toilet, and then I went back to see my friends and we started talking and it was fine. The second time I actually was shopping, so I went to the ladies' room, put this in, and then continue shopping, and after 25 minutes went back to the toilet and just take it out. So it was really easy. There was no need for me to fuss around with the storage bottles or anything like that. And this also helps with the hygiene of your milk, because your milk actually doesn't touch anything else. It just goes directly into the plastic bag, so you don't have to worry about emptying in the ladies' room or anything like that. So for this, I think Willow is definitely the best choice for you to pump on the go. With Imani I2, you can also pump on the go, but bearing in mind it's not leak proof. So if you're in the car and you're not moving and you're on the passenger side, I think that's doable. But if you're walking around in the shopping mall like I was, then this is definitely not the case for you, because even if you move a little bit and your milk is already about 5 ounces and it's already there, it will definitely leak to your pump if you move around too much. In terms of the sound, Willow is actually slightly louder than my Imani. But one time my friend came to actually deliver some food for me, and I was talking to him like, sorry, I can't talk to you for too long, I'm actually pumping. And she's like, are you sure you're pumping? I can't hear anything. So it's slightly louder, but it's not that loud that if you're walking around the mall, people will be like turning their heads and like seeing where's that noise coming from. They wouldn't. If you're in a very quiet room, then people might notice, but to be honest, it hasn't been a problem with me when I'm hanging out with my sisters, my family, my friends. It's not that much. I'm going to insert a clip comparing these two noises levels so you guys can see, but all in all, I don't think it's a big deal in terms of the noise. One thing to note also about the Willow actually comes with an app. So with the app, what you can do is actually monitor how much you are actually pumping, and also you can have the history of your pumping. And this is actually an amazing app. What it does is really it keeps track of your feedback every time after a pumping session. So for example, in the first pumping session, my feedback would be I did not empty my breast. So the next session, normally I would empty my breast. Somehow the app is telling the pump to actually pump slightly differently. So it's tracking your experience and trying to make it better. So of course, with this, the more you use it, hopefully the better it gets, and that's definitely the case for me. With Imani, it doesn't come with an app, so if you want to track how much you're pumping, then obviously there's a lot of apps that you can do that manually. But of course, as you're pumping, you don't know actually how much you have emptied out compared to the Willow. With the Willow, I actually noticed some trends in my pumping. I know that, I have 2 letdowns, and I know I need to pump at least for 25 minutes for me to get to my second letdown and all that. So it has actually taught me a lot about myself as well. And of course, if I'm learning, the app is also learning. So, the experience only gets better. Okay, the next one is changing the suction modes. With the Imani, you have to change the mode from your massage mode to your letdown mode manually. And with Willow, what it will do is actually it will change it automatically as soon as you have about 0.1 or 0.5 ounces. Sorry, I can't remember. But what it does is it does change it automatically. Now, this is amazing if you don't actually have a problem with a letdown. But I do know actually from the support group, some moms actually have trouble having letdowns. So the app won't actually change to the letdown mode unless you have enough in the in the container to actually tell them that you're actually having a letdown. The reason why this is important is because in the massage mode, you only have 3 levels of suction, and you have actually additional suction level if you're in the letdown mode. And some women actually requires a high suction to actually have a letdown. Now, this is the problem that some mothers actually face. This is not a problem for me because previously, even with using other pumps, I don't need high level of suction to actually have a letdown. So even if I'm already in my letdown mode, I never go above 3. For me, 3 is enough for me to have a good letdown and to have a good session. But bear in mind that if you're someone who needs to adjust that level manually, or you need to really go up in terms of suction level in the beginning, this might not be great for you. Let's talk about the suction comfort. I've talked a lot about Imani. In my previous video, I've compared it to a few other pumps. But with Imani, I actually love the suction. It's painless for me. I get a good letdown, I get a good session, and at the end, I feel fine. I don't feel like, my nipple is hurting or anything like that. So with Imani, I love the suction. You guys know that. With Willow, the suction is definitely different. They have this technology where the suction is constantly sucking rather than actually sucking and releasing like a normal pump. I don't really know how to explain this, but it's the only pump that I've tried before that actually feels like this. Now, this is either a good thing or a bad thing. It really depends on you. Some women in the support group actually felt that it was too painful for them, and they just can't get on with it, and they get blisters and all that. All that is also, of course, contributed by not having the right size and all that, but I'll get back to that later. But I have the right size, and it's still actually quite painful for me. It's not the most painful thing ever that I can't endure it. I can, but because I choose to be now exclusively pumping, it's actually too much pain too many times a day. Within these two, I would say Willow actually empties me out better. That means every time I'm done with the Willow, I feel like my breasts are really empty. With the Imani, I don't have as amazing result as the Willow. But if I'm using the Imani with the Lavi lactation massager, it's actually almost as good as the Willow. So I'm there about, I would say, 99% with this, with the massager. And if I'm using my Imani with the Lavi lactation massager, then it's painless and I get as good result as I'm using with my Willow. So that's why now what I'm doing is just I'm using my Imani on a daily basis, and I would only use my Willow when I'm outside because it's leak proof and it's amazing to pump on the go. In the Willow website, you can see they actually claim to actually give you about 20% more milk if you're pumping with the Willow Generation 3. Now, do I think this is true? Actually, I do. Because in the beginning, I was using this exclusively, I think for about a month to really try and test it out. And I can actually see that 20% in my app. Now, let's take that into perspective. So, if you're pumping about 10 ounces a day, 20% is about 2 ounces. So, if you're pumping normally, you get 10 ounces. If you're pumping with Willow consecutively and a few times and your body is getting used to it, then you should be getting about 12 ounces. And I was getting that increase in supply with my Willow. So definitely, if you love the suction, if it works for you, then definitely I think this is amazing, because that kind of technology and that kind of like experience you can only get with a smart pump like the Willow Generation 3. The downside of having a smart pump is that if something goes wrong, for example, you didn't click something correctly, or the valve, or what they call here the flex tube is not put in tightly, or there's a hole, it won't actually switch on. Now, is this a problem or a good thing? It's both. Sometimes the app is too, or the pump is too sensitive that, even something slightly wrong, they wouldn't actually turn on. So imagine if you're outside and you need to pump and you can't get this to turn on. It's not great that you have to call customer service or try to search for, clues on how to fix it. They've actually improved this with the new app. They've updated it recently. The app will actually tell you what's wrong and they tell you what to do with it. But that's not, sometimes that's not the best way for you to deal with, because sometimes they tell you you have to wash it and, do the vinegar soak to get rid of the layers of fat. So if you're outside, then obviously that's not a great thing, right? You can't actually, say, okay, I can't pump. Now I have to go find a vinegar soak and do it now. If you need to pump, you need to pump. So I think that's actually a major downside for the Willow. But of course, it being a smart pump, you don't want it to turn on and actually malfunction. That means you have something not attached correctly and the milk flow out and it actually ruins your hub. You don't want that to happen as well. So I guess in the beginning, if you want to try it on, you should try it at home, so that if you have a problem, you actually know what to do. What I did was join the support group, so whenever I had an issue, I actually know what to do with it and I deal with it quite quickly. And so far, I have not had an incident where I'm outside and I couldn't get it to turn on. It happened that I was delayed, I was getting error a few times, but after 5 or 10 minutes, I did manage to get it to switch on. And I was in my car then, so I wasn't really rushing, so I guess it did happen, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world. I did manage to sort it out finally. If you're in the US, then you can also call customer service. Apparently they're amazing, so that's what I've been told. But because I'm in Malaysia, it's quite hard for me to actually call them. I would need to try a way to call them for free and all that, and with the timing difference, I thought that it would actually easier for me to sort it out myself. So let's go with the next one, the risk of buying Willow compared to Imani. With Imani, you actually have local support. That means your seller is local. So if you have any problem with the warranty or with your pump, then you can just contact them and it will be quite cheap for you to get something returned and get a new pump. Compared to the Willow, it would cost you a lot to actually send this hub back to the US and then for them to actually send you back a replacement hub. So being in Malaysia, I actually wanted to take the risk because from the reviews I've seen, the Willow is too amazing for me to actually not try. So I went in and actually took the risk of actually buying this, knowing that if anything were ever to happen, I would not actually spend the 400 ringgit to actually send it back. I would actually probably just let it die in my house or whatever. But that's a risk that you have to be willing to take. If you know someone in the US and you know someone who frequently visits there or travels there, then you can ask them to take it back for you and things like that. But if you're like me and you're just a normal consumer here in Malaysia, if anything were ever to happen to your hub, it's going to be very hard for you to get a replacement. It's going to be very costly for you to get a replacement. So please bear that in mind. Let's talk about the sizes of the breast shield. For the Willow, you actually have the sizes in 21, 24 and 27 millimeters. And for the Imani, you have it in 25 and also 28. With the Imani, you can actually get inserts from the Imani if you want the 21mm, which is my size. So I got the insert for that. It works great. With the Willow, there are options for you to get other inserts if you're a different size. And from the support group, they actually really suggest that you actually measure yourself properly with a nipple ruler before you buy this. Because what they say is that if you don't have the correct size, because of the suction technology, it's going to be very painful for you. So it's more painful than not having the right size with a normal pump. With this pump, with the level of suction they actually have and the constant suction, if you're even off by let's say 3 or 4 millimeters, it's going to be very painful for you. And this is actually an experience that I had myself. When I bought this, I actually sized myself and I was at 27. That was actually before I delivered my baby. And about a month and a half after that, somehow I resized myself and I was actually a 21mm. I don't know how that has happened, but it did happen. But before I actually bought the 21mm Willow from a WhatsApp group. So somebody was selling there, so I was waiting for mine to come in from Singapore. So in the meantime, I was using my Willow 27 when I was actually a 21mm, and I don't know how to actually express how painful it was to actually use the wrong size. So I was using the wrong size for about a few days before I actually bought a May Mum inserts to be used with my Willow. So it's not great, but it's okay. And I think most importantly, you have to be sure of your size before you invest in Willow. Okay, all in all, I love both pumps, but for different reasons. I love Imani because it's painless. The container is big, so I can stretch out the time between my pumping session because I know that the container can hold more. And with the Lavi lactation massager, I get as good result with my Imani compared to my Willow. So of course, on a daily basis, I use my Imani, but I still love my Willow for whenever I have to go out and also pump on the go, because there's no better feeling than, you know, pumping, finishing, and you just unlatch and you're done. You just put the plastic bag in your bag and you can just go on about your day. You don't need to fuss around with emptying out your containers into a storage bottle or into a plastic bag. So because of that, and solely because of that, I'm not getting rid of my Willow. I'm going to keep it for me because I'm going to be pumping for at least another year. So that's it from me. If you guys have any questions about the Willow or the Imani, just put them in the comment section below and I'll try to get to that as soon as possible. Alright, that's all for this video, guys. Thank you for watching and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!